Would you say I have a reasonable understanding of how to execute these various sex acts properly?
Yes.
How awesome is that? What you're doing is disgusting. Listen, lady.
Well, good afternoon, good evening, good morning, wherever you are around the world. I'm Stirling Cooper, and this charming gentleman next to me here is Mr. Prince O. Prince, thank you for coming, mate. Oh, I haven't muted you. Sorry, there you go. You got to unmute yourself, mate. There you go.
What's good, everyone? Go by Prince O. Also, dating coach, pickup coach, dating expert, online game, all that kind of stuff. I also make content also on YouTube. So yeah. It's going to be a fun day. Thanks for having me on, brother.
You're welcome, man. It was good. Alex from Playing with Fire put us in touch with each other. And me and him always have some good chats. And I thought, well, look, I looked through your YouTube channel. I saw some of the stuff you're putting out. I was like, all right, this is gonna be fun. We can learn a lot from Prince. It's like the Prince thing because you're Nigerian.
Actually, it's funny because it's kind of my mom asked me the same thing, but it's like, honestly, I literally woke up one day. My real name is O, so Olu. So I just woke up one day. I was like, oh, Prince O sounds cool. Because my original name on YouTube was stupid, like Beast Mode Mag. So like, I need something new quick. Yeah.
All right, there you go. Well, that was your thought process for that was a little bit less than my thought process for my stage name. So.
I thought Sterling Cooper is your real name.
Everyone thinks that for some reason. I don't go around doxing myself. I don't go around telling people my real name. Because it's like even on dating apps, even when I'm out here using Tinder, I'm using my stage name because like if I match with a girl and she has my real name and like I don't know, I break her heart or something, she can run around and dox me. And I'm like, nah, stuff that. I'm just gonna tell everyone my stage name and be done with it. In America, I have more people who call me by my actually now in general, I have more people call me by my stage name than by my real name.
Oh, really? Okay, yeah. That's interesting. It's funny. I know a lot of guys that actually do that. Like one of my friends was telling me the other day, like he really only goes by his middle name, and then with my other friends, he only goes by like a alias like Sam Young. Till this day, he's been doing it for like 4 or 5 years. He just says like in case he ever gets caught up or anything, like they don't know his real name.
I mean, look, not that I intend to be doing something, anything shady, but in this day and age, like people can come after you for anything. They'll cancel you over a tweet. Exactly. So look, take if you're going to put, especially if you're putting out the kind of content you're putting out, so we're going to be there's going to be someone hanging out in the wings waiting to strike.
Oh yeah, and it's funny. I've seen some like YouTube videos where guys been using stage name and then they'll pull up their real name and go on their LinkedIn and talk about every single thing. It's crazy.
Amateurs, absolute amateur hour over there. So, Prince, maybe you can give everyone here like a bit of a background on like how long you've been sort of teaching guys this stuff for, maybe how you kind of cut your teeth, how you sort of learned like I guess your way into like learning all this sort of dating and pickup stuff, and then I guess like what you sort of. Well, I'm going to get into like a few sort of more specific questions for you on like some of the advice you tell guys, but yeah, give people an idea of your background.
Okay, so I'm like 25 right now. I started around like 15, 16 years old. So like I remember I started like approaching girls in school, right? I never really had a problem with approach anxieties. I was always able to approach. But what happened was like I remember it started off with texting. So texting, I would Google like how to text a girl, how to do all this stuff. And I remember finding out about some guy named like Bobby Rio, TSB magazine. And then I bought his ebook. And from there on, I was always trying to learn how to text girls to get them to hang out. And then eventually basically ended up getting my first girlfriend. She broke up with me basically after like 3 weeks because I was too clingy. So that like ruined my mindset. Everyone has that one breakup that changed their life.
Yep.
And then moving forward from that, like I had to keep on like eventually understanding females. And I went throughout college, I struggled getting girls. Like when I went to college, my leg count was like one, literally just one. And my whole freshman year, I started approaching. Terrible, couldn't get any girl. Then my sophomore year, basically as I got older, I ended up getting eventually better. And I eventually ended up joining a fraternity, which basically got me tons of girls, started understanding how girls work. And then eventually I had to learn like how to handle girls, how to keep girls around, how to get better at approaching. And eventually I transitioned to online stuff. And then I've just always been kind of getting better naturally on my own. Then after college, my boys end up just calling me all the time, asking me for dating advice. And I was going to start a YouTube channel. Then I eventually ended up starting a YouTube channel. That's when I actually figured out about like PUA and then like red pill content, all that kind of stuff. But like when you know it, but then you hear it, it's like it's a different perspective. That's when everything like, oh, I knew this, but I never heard someone say it. That eventually coaching guys, teaching guys, just telling guys what I do, showing through my experience, and that's how I got it. It started as a hobby, and then I just
yeah. It started like as a hobby for something you wanted to like fix, right?
Exactly.
And that's how a lot of guys sort of end up in this spot. I mean, not everybody. Some guys who I talk to, who I've interviewed on the show, who coach guys and this stuff, they very much like never really had a problem with this. Mm-hmm. And then, I genuinely like, because I was in a similar situation to you, oddly enough. I didn't start to really get good with the chicks until I was in. You wouldn't call it a fraternity. Mm-hmm. In Australia, we don't have fraternities. Okay. We have like residential colleges, which are similar. They're similar to what you would call a fraternity in America. It's more like it's a place where you all like eat and sleep, and like it's across the road from the actual university where you study during the daytime, and then you come back to your residential college. It's kind of like the Oxfordian model, like Oxford and Cambridge do in England. It's the same kind of system they do. We do that in Australia. So like you live in this like castle with everybody else, where you eat and sleep and party. And then during the daytime, you go across the road to the actual university to study, and then you come back again and party. Yeah, and I learned, that's where I learned like dating, like started to learn like male female dynamic stuff, because I was like in leadership positions. I was like the president of my fraternity, whatever you want to call it, back in Australia, and I was like, whenever I give a speech, all these girls like me. I'm like, what's going on here? There's something going on. I just sort of see that again and again. I'm like, if I just like run around organizing shit, I get laid. This works. So let's just keep doing this.
Concept of leader among men. But it's crazy, right? Being in environments like just having guys who all have that same energy, who want to get girls, you eventually pick up on stuff, you get better. And I learned so much game from just being around older people who knew how to get girls.
Yeah, I bet that's the like in a fraternity specifically, because a fraternity is just all dudes, right? So it's all, like you said, you're around all these like senior dudes who have figured this out, who are good with chicks, and they're passing it on to the younger dudes.
Oh, I missed that. You was with girls in there too?
We had girls in ours, yeah. Oh. So ours was co-ed.
That's awesome.
The whole situation. So we had to like, yeah, like you sort of figure out like what's going on. You end up like in positions of leadership, and then miraculously there's a woman in your bed.
It kind of like sounds like social circle too, like
very much so. Yeah. It's like social circle game. It's like high school all over again, if I'm being perfectly honest.
But you guys are all over 18 at this point, right?
Yeah, exactly. Real quick, shout out to the Professor Rich. If you haven't subscribed to Professor Rich's channel, go check him out. He had me on his channel a while ago. Very, very good man. Thank you very much for the $4.99 super chat, Professor Rich. Good to see you in the house. Have you talked to Rich before?
Yeah, that's my boy. He was on my channel too.
Nice.
Yeah, smart dude, like 6'8".
Yeah, gigantic man. With that friggin' haircut as well. I think he's cheating with like 4 inches with that fucking hair. Yeah. I can't get over that. But that's, yeah. It's like social circle game on like, but it's in your face at all times. So when you're living in that, it's kind of like the easiest thing for most people to relate to it is like back in high school, right? So where everybody knows everybody, like you know the limits of the social circle, and everyone knows where they fit on the hierarchy of that social circle, right? And that's what residential colleges were like for me back in Australia, and I imagine very kind of similar with you guys with like fraternities and sororities.
Exactly.
but not necessarily extended the whole university on like the whole campus, but within your little clique of people, okay, well, this guy is like the president of my fraternity, so he's top dog. Then there's these guys, and then there's and as far as the girls are concerned, like, okay, these are all the super hot chicks, like they're here on the pecking ladder, and then there's these other girls down here, and it's like, but everyone is aware of it, and it sort of makes for this really interesting. I find it interesting anyway, especially now that I'm not in it. Looking back on it, makes this interesting dynamic of, I guess, jostling for like top dog position and like competing with other guys in that space to get to that top dog position.
How many people were in it? How many girls and guys were there total?
When I was there, it was the population was 160 people.
That's a lot.
Yeah, so you have 100, and we were at the smaller college. There was a college that was like, that's a perfect size, because there was like along across the road there was the actual university, and they had like 5 residential colleges who were all separate kind of like entities, and we compete against each other in sports and things like that, right? And ours was the smallest one. The biggest one was like 300 people all living together, but they didn't have a very good sense of community. And there's a certain limit, there's a certain number, there's a size which is kind of perfect for natural human like hierarchies to form. And it's got to have something to do with like how many people would have been in a tribe back in the day. Like 50 to 150 people is kind of like the size of most, like hunter-gatherer tribes, right? So that was like perfect to have a college the same size of that. It's like, and every year, like, you got freshmen coming in and like older students rotating out. So it's like, this is the great dynamic. This is the biggest lesson I learned, was like, when I went from being a freshman and being like a total dork and like the girls weren't interested in me, to then the next year being like just 1 year older and organizing a few events, organizing a few parties. All these younger chicks are like, oh, he's like so hot, he's like all cool and shit. It's like, nothing fucking changed, bitch. Like, I'm just 1 year older. But it's like, perception is a huge thing.
Exactly. I feel like the same thing happened to me too, because like my freshman year, as I said, I probably only slept with one girl that whole year, right? And then that sophomore year, my life just magically changed. One, because of joining a fraternity, so I was in a position of a little more power, or people saw me on campus, right? And then I was a little older, so now I could get the freshman girl. And then as you get older, you see that all these freshman girls usually act the same. It's the same story. They just want to have fun. They just want to figure out stuff. They're still learning. As you get older, you just get more and more experience. So it's like,
yeah, man. It's sort of like, you see behind the curtain, with like in Wizard of Oz, when they pull the curtain back and you can see the guy like with the machine, with like the little machine running everything. It's like, son of a bitch. This is all it was the whole time. All I had to do was like just be a little bit older.
Exactly.
For a whole year, I was like sitting there frustrated, like, damn, why are these older dudes getting all the fucking chicks? I'm like, oh, well, okay, I just had to be fucking patient.
And another thing too, when I got older too, I got a little more resources. So like when I got my car, that got me way more options, because now I can go mess with girls in different campuses. When I got older, I got my own crib, so now I could throw house parties, functions. So it's like, yeah, you just learn over time.
Yeah, right. So what do you, now that you're sort of out here teaching guys, right? What do you think is, and especially because you're teaching guys, not in that same context, right? You're teaching guys like just people who are out in the quote unquote real world now. What do you see as like the biggest mistake that a lot of guys are making when it comes to trying to get more women in their life?
So I think it comes down to a couple mistakes, right? So let me first talk about like approaching. So when it comes down to approaching, a lot of guys, they don't shoot their shot enough. They don't approach enough. They get in their head. They get stuck in their head too much. And then when it comes to online, they worry about the wrong stuff, right? So like, instead of focus on having the best quality pictures, what they do focus on is the openers and the bios. Yes, those are important, but realistically, if you don't have a solid, good profile pictures, it's like girls don't really care. Like, guys DM me all the time, like, yo, bro, how do I slide in this girl's DM? I look on the page, they have no profile picture. It's probably a cartoon, and they have 0 pictures. I'm like, bro, if I'm thinking this, what would a girl think? And then another thing I find out is guys get too needy off of one girl. Like, even I do at the same time. I get that beautiful girl who's just my type, nice body, everything, right? I can't stop thinking about her. So now these guys are just stuck over this one girl who's not even showing them any attention. So it's a common of different problems. What about you? What do you think?
Well, I get like my whole thing is I get guys coming after me for the whole sex advice stuff, which is kind of I do not claim to I don't really teach guys pick up. This is why I have guys like you on my show. You know what I mean? Because like that's not my wheelhouse. Like don't get me wrong, I do fine, but it's not something I've really broken down systematically. So I'm in a position to teach guys about it. There are guys who are far more qualified to actually teach the getting the girl into your house part. I can help you from there. Once she's in your house, okay, listen to me. You'll be fine. Once you listen to me, once she's in the door, I'll take it from there. But so that's where I kind of help guys out. So that's why I like to have guys like you on here and sort of help them piece the puzzle together a little bit better. Because like I do see guys who are like, it's weird, man. With this, especially now the whole COVID situation. Like we were saying this before we went live, day game like street pickup, cold approach stuff has kind of died a little bit because like, and it's shit for the younger men coming up because I used to do like cold approach pickup back in Australia where I'm from. When all the nightclubs were open, everyone's like, you know, Friday, Saturday night, you just hit like the night clubbing like area and you just fucking spend all day like chatting to chicks. It's great. And you cut your teeth, you get experience, you learn what works, you learn what doesn't work, and you develop confidence with it. But now guys don't really have that. I would hate to be a fucking 18-year-old dude right now.
I don't know what I would do. It's like, how can you learn just from online? Like,
well, that's the thing. And I think that's a bit of it's unfortunate, but I mean, even now, like if I want to meet chicks, I'm like, okay, I'm on Tinder, I'm on like Bumble, I'm on Instagram, whatever it is. Slide into girls' DMs, and it's like, yeah, that's cool because I kind of know how to do that, but I wouldn't like I'm good on a date because I know how to talk to women. Like I'm confident in my mouthpiece. Like I'm confident that I can like seduce a girl. So if she's sitting next to me on a date, she's in trouble. Because I know what I'm doing. But if I was a younger guy, yeah, cool, I can figure out like text game and get my bio on point for Tinder and stuff. But if that's all you got, if you haven't had experience like just walking up to a chick and chatting her up, when you taking her on the date, you're gonna be on the back foot a bit, I think.
Exactly. And then even like when you're talking about like kind of you was in a cohort with 100 people, right? Even outside of girls, you learn how to talk to other men. So you learn conversational skills. So that if you don't even interact with other men too, like you're not even gonna know how to talk to her in general. So that's what I find. But
talking to them in general. Yeah. And this, it's a lot of it is. This is the thing. Okay, you asked me like what's the biggest thing I see. This is it. It's come to my head now. Guys will ruin shit for themselves. They'll talk their way out of sex. Which is if you can just stop doing that, guys, you're gonna get laid a lot more. It's a lot of times it's like not what you actually say, it's what you're not saying.
Exactly. I actually had one good friend, like I used to tell him all the time, like he was a good looking guy. He was about like 6 feet, he had good hair, good style, right? And girls would always be in love with him, but I would find out something like, yo, bro, you talk yourself out of the pussy all the time.
Yeah.
You would get drunk and then just keep on talking. Girls used to hate that.
Dude, it's real quick. Pogson, Chris, my man, thank you so much for the $5 super chat. Shout out to the smoothest Aussie I know. I'm probably the only Aussie you know. Let's be real, Chris. Yeah, they're hanging out in Miami. There's not many Australians hanging out in Miami. They're all over here now. They're all over on the west coast in LA. But thank you very much, Chris. Much appreciated. That's like, dudes talking about sex. It's also like if you're this, because there's a lot of good looking dudes around right now who aren't great with chicks, and a lot of uglier looking guys, right? Well, not ugly, but like less conventionally good looking dudes are confused by this. And here's the reason why is because if you're a good looking dude, like say you're fit, you're handsome, or you dress well, right? When a girl sees you, she expects you to act a certain way. In her mind, she has a preconceived notion of what you are like, right? Especially, especially if you're hitting like a stereotype. If you look like a gym bro, if you look like a rock star. You know, like if you look like you're in a band, like if you look like a certain stereotype, she's gonna assume in the back of her head, oh, he acts this way. He's confident. He's good with the ladies, whatever. And then you open your fucking mouth and you a complete dumbass and talk your way out of sex. It makes you look even more unattractive than the regular guy fucking up. Because she thinks you're up here and then she talks to you and you're actually down here. She's like, ugh. It's like repulsive to them. And the only reason I know this is because I used to be that guy. The only reason I know this, like, so speaking from experience, before I knew how to talk, I make money with my face. Like I'm professionally, for want of a better phrase, I'm professionally good looking. You know, I need to keep my physique and style and then shit in order. But I didn't used to think I was good looking because I wasn't very confident, right? But I'd always, and you learn about things like, what do they call them? Like choosing signals, indicators of interest, these kind of things, like signals that girls give you that let them know that they're actually into you. And when I started learning that stuff, I was like, shit, all these girls are like giving me these signals, but I was doing nothing with it, or I was actively fucking it up all of the time.
How are they giving you signals? Like, what signals were you seeing?
Oh, it's stuff, you know, like lingering eye contact, like hair flicks, like initiating physical contact with you, that kind of shit. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like the little subtle things that girls do that let them know that they think is letting you know that they're into you. But most guys are too fucking oblivious to it to even pick up on the damn thing.
Yeah, and it's funny too that you actually say that, right? Like what girls perceive you, like from looking at you. So I was coaching like a long-term client, right? He was about like 6'4". He was big, like a football player, right? So like I kind of have like a jokey, smiley vibe, right? Like I'm a giggly, energetic person, kind of, right? So I was telling him like, yo, you gotta loosen up. Like when you talk to girls, be more fun, entertaining kind of stuff, kind of, right? But he was telling me like, yo, I'm 6'4", right? So it's like when girls come to approach me, they expect like a solid, confident guy, right?
Yeah.
And I had to understand, I had to put myself in his shoes, reality, and actually see in the interactions how like this is actually true. So like, and that's not his personality too. So like girls expect you to act a certain way sometimes, but you have to be true to who you are. But like, I do know that's a thing.
I like that you said that because I had the problem when I was younger of coming across too, I guess you'd call it like too dancing monkey, too like too high. And I'm actually naturally a pretty high energy guy, right? And I had to learn to dial that back a lot when I interact with women because I'd like slow down the way I speak, like not quick jittery movements with my body. Like steady eye contact, like, you know, like just little subtle things like that, which communicate confidence a lot more. It basically going back to the idea of not fucking yourself up, not shooting yourself in the foot. It's stuff that these are all things that communicate a lack of nerves, right? Because everything, all the other stuff like jittery hand movements, I mean, at least for me, right? Jittery hand movements or like moving eye contact around, like high pitched voice or talking like a million miles an hour. These all kind of allude to you being nervous.
Exactly.
Right. And so learning a lot, I think one of the biggest things that I had was having a high degree of like self-awareness and being able to step back and be like, what was I doing during this interaction? Like, did I feel nervous? Okay. If I feel nervous, what things do I do with my body that are potentially fucking me up?
How were you able to figure that out? Were you writing it down? Like, I know a lot of people wrote, like, what's it called? I think it's called field reports. It was writing down field reports saying how you're feeling. Or did you just, like, sit back after interaction, analyze it?
I used to, for a good 6 months, I did field reports on every single interaction I did. Okay. And that really helped me to, like synthesize, like, oh, well, I did this went wrong. I did that, this went wrong. I'm like, oh, wait a minute, like, I'm starting to see patterns because that's the thing. You can the process of, it's actually something I'd recommend to any guy who is like learning this shit. The process of like sitting down and self-analyzing and writing down like, all right, what did I do and what happened? It's very helpful because you don't often sit back and get that self like not introspective, but like look at yourself objectively that much. Like look at yourself as like the third party. And try to figure out the fuck's going on.
Yeah, that makes sense. So like, yeah, something similar. I never wrote down field reports. I recommend it, but like I've never actually done it. So I don't really talk about it that much. But I do know like when I every interaction, like I would kind of like gear the conversation to certain topics that I would like kind of knew about. So I kind of naturally get routines because I would know like girls like when I bring up this topic, like if I bring up food, like Nigerian food, jollof rice, right? I'd always kind of bring it to that topic, right? Because I can talk about how I'm cooking for you. And I just joke around like, hey, that's gonna make you thick or something like that. So like exactly that same reactions. And then hey, like on a date, I'll be like, hey, let's go cook this together. So like I'd bring towards like different conversations, which became like I knew I would get different reaction by practicing different times. Yeah.
Yep. One of the things I think a lot of guys fall into is they fall into like habits. And so like what's the saying? Insanity is doing the same thing every time and expecting a different result. Right. So guys will sort of fall into these habits that they have around women and then be like, oh man, why isn't this working? Why isn't that working? Well, like you're doing the same shit every time. Like, and obviously that shit isn't working. So change this thing, change that thing, like whatever it might be. And that's just another aspect of leaving your comfort zone, really. Like, because you're in this habit, you're in this way of a routine of doing things, and it feels comfortable, it feels natural, it feels familiar. So you just keep doing it. But if you're not getting the results you want, you have to break a fucking pattern here and there, and actually like try something new.
And it sounded like you were really good at like figuring out what worked and what didn't work for you, and like actually analyzing. Like I find some guys like really struggle with that. Like they honestly don't know what's working for them.
Yeah, I mean, I'm blessed with being blessed and cursed with being very analytical. It's a good thing and a bad thing. Don DeMarco, here we go. Just walk up to her and say, I'm Don DeMarco. I'm not. You keep sliding into my chat, Don DeMarco, and I am not going to be trying to copy Myron and pumping out the Don DeMarco soundboard. But look, you can have one of these instead.
Gotcha, bitch.
So there you go.
Hey, what is this Don DeMarco? Like, I see on Fish podcasts all the time, but I don't know what it is.
It's just like a thing he has on his soundboard, and he gets guys dropping 1 million super chats just to hear the fucking soundbite. I love it. Okay. Here we go. I'm gonna shamelessly plug myself here. Chris was in Miami with us when we were in Miami. When I was in Miami last time, he says Stirling walked into the club with us in Miami, got a kiss in the first 2 minutes. All he had on was his white t-shirt, never said a damn word. That's actually absolutely true. I just like I saw this girl like recognizing what do you call them? IOIs, buying in signals of interest from a chick. This girl, like her friend was walking her through the club. She made eye contact with me. I just stared her down, went like this. She came over. I grabbed her hand, pulled her in, made out with her. And I actually, Chris here got caught up. So like her friend was holding her hand still, and I pulled her in, and Chris was like ended up in between the girl I'm making out with and her friend as her hand was still holding onto her. So I'm sitting there making out with her friend, and her friend's like, I'm trying to get around Chris to like stop me.
Like Chris was kind of like, he kind of helped you out in that second too.
He did. He was running interference for me. It was great.
It's funny when some guys like some guys, a random guy actually tried that and he didn't have like your charisma or like your swagger or like the way you did it, be able to say like this, like it might not even work for him. So it's like,
yeah, I mean, look, that's not the kind of thing that's going to work every time.
Yeah,
it's just like I've just been in that situation of this, and it's not the first time I've done that. Like I've just been in that situation enough to recognize when a girl is like ready to make out with me instantly. Like it's just because I've done it before. So I'm like, oh, what? Because once you've done, like, you just need one reference experience for a lot of this stuff. You need one good reference experience of it working. You know, oh motherfucker, this can actually work. I can do this. This is not like some superhero level shit. It's just recognizing the pattern.
Exactly.
And being like, all right, bang, come here.
I'm trying to figure out like when the girls want to do that, it's like you'll figure out like they're just being your bubble and they just keep on getting like closer and just having dead ass eye contact. They're just like right here. So like that's when I figure out like, yeah, this is time to kiss her. Yeah.
That's another big thing for a lot of guys. Do you get that question very often, like from dudes who are like, oh, I don't know when should I kiss her? When I don't know when to kiss her, that kind of stuff.
Nah, it's actually when I actually get those questions, like when I'm actually like just hanging out with my friends, and then I end up like start kissing a girl randomly. That's when I get the questions, or like when I'm in the field coaching. But like not through like most guys that hit me up actually just want to know how do I play around and flirt with her over text?
Mm.
So
That's what you get mostly. You get mostly guys asking about text game and stuff.
90%.
Damn.
Yeah, 90%.
Do you think that's because none of them want to go out and actually cold approach any chicks?
Exactly. I mean, it's kind of hard right now, honestly. But yeah,
right.
But it's kind of always been hard. But it's like now it's just different.
Because you're in Washington D.C., right?
Yeah, DC. I mean, you can approach it, but you're better off doing online at this point.
Yeah, and we were saying like, because Miami is like open, and Miami is you can still like kind of walk around on the streets, and especially where Myron and Walter and Brickell and meet some nice girls and chat them up. And I was telling you before we went live that here in Vegas you can still game girls here. Like there's plenty of people. Like it's open. The strip is still packed full of people.
Wow.
Walking up and down. Like this is probably the one place in the world that I've been traveling around the world for the last 2 months.
Mm-hmm.
I've been in like England, France, Spain, Portugal, Morocco, and all around the US right now in the last 2 months. And this place is the one place, Las Vegas, where you could still easily do. It's like nothing changed. Like you could walk around doing like day game practice, or you can walk, or you could just hit the fucking casino floor and do like that. You just keep doing it at nighttime on the casino floor. Like, but this is the one place that still you could still pull it off. I think.
Oh yeah, Vegas. Okay, that's the next trip. I didn't know that till like you said that when I started talking to you this morning.
Yeah. And look, and there's some good-looking girls in Vegas, man. But you got to be careful because a lot of them, the ones that are like dime pieces, you're like, damn, she is fine. She's probably an escort.
Oh, okay, because it's legal over there, right?
That's totally legal here in Nevada.
When I went to Vegas, I didn't run into that problem, but my friend ran into that problem. Like the girl came up to him really sexually, and then he figured out she was an escort.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I've heard about that. I know I get that problem a lot in like DR and Colombia.
Really?
Yeah, where girls are escorts.
Huh. Because I know that my friend Sarah J, I don't know if you're familiar with that name. Sarah J is like a
who is it?
old school porn star. Yeah. So her and I are good friends, and she was telling me that because they closed down there was a website called Backpage where all the girls used to advertise their escorting services, and they closed that down several years ago. So now all the girls who were using Backpage to advertise, now they all go on Tinder.
Yeah, it makes sense. Yeah.
And they just sit there swiping on dudes, and then try to like upsell them on their services using Tinder. So that's probably what you'd get that, and you definitely get that in Colombia. You get that out here. You got to be sort of like you got to kind of be savvy. And I mean, look, with like a day of swiping here in Vegas, you'll figure it out pretty quickly, like which ones are like you could identify. Okay, that girl's profile. This girl's an escort.
Exactly.
Yeah. It doesn't take. They can't say it on the profile because then they get banned like straight away. They'll say shit like on their profile. They'll be like, "Not here for hookups, looking for like someone to marry." On their profile as an escort, and then but all the pictures will be they're like super scantily clad. Escort photos. I'm like, wait a minute, something fishy here.
Yeah, I also find like girls nowadays will like try and put like their Snapchat premium or like Snapchat premium is a concept, but and their OnlyFans. Like I'll find like a girl will be like, add me on Snapchat right away. You add her, and then it just be like a bunch of just explicit content. So yeah,
Snapchat, like the whole Snapchat thing and like OnlyFans things been going on. Or they'll just try to funnel guys to their Instagram. Mm-hmm. And then get them on. It's like a sales funnel, man. Like it's like okay, Tinder to Instagram to OnlyFans is like the funnel that all these girls use, right? Who we have in here? Don DeMarco again. He asked us, thank you for the $1.99 super chat, Don. What percentage of guys actually cold approach? That's a good question.
What do you want to answer first?
Less than 1%. Like fucking no one.
Better question: how many are actually successful?
Even less than that. No one's out here fucking. No one is out here doing it. Like even in like the heyday of pickup artistry stuff, that was still a very tiny percentage of people.
It's nerve-wracking to cold approach. I'm not gonna lie, but like if you get that confidence and you get used to it and get that reference experience, you'll be fine.
And that's the thing, that confidence doesn't disappear. Like. You know that you've done like I only spent like about 2 or 3 years like practicing this stuff pretty consistently, and it hasn't gone away. Like, sure, I can get a bit rusty here and there, but like, all right, once I go on like a couple of dates, if I haven't like tried to like meet anybody for like a month, if I go on a couple of dates, I'm like back in the swing of things straight away. It's like, okay, cool, like it's all coming back to me now, you know. It's like riding a bicycle, really.
Okay, yeah.
Here's a question for you. What do you say to guys who, like, a very common problem dudes will have is they'll run out of things to say. What kind of advice do you give guys so that in terms of like in a cold approach scenario and in like a texting scenario?
So let me talk about texting first. So when it comes to texting, I always try and encourage guys to get to the point in the conversation where the girl is kind of doing most of the talking. Because like one tip that one guy's ever told me in my whole life, like the best way to keep the conversation going is to get the person talking about themselves all day. So I want them to get to the point where like the girl's doing most of the talking, you just asking questions, keeping the conversation going. But then what I find that a lot of guys who aren't good at doing that, what they do is they get into interview mode and they get asking yes or no questions. So that's the biggest problem right there. And so also like another thing is like, if she's not talking like that, you have to try and get her to switch on FaceTime or different, like maybe on the phone. She's not talking over text like that, because realistically, if you keep telling stories by yourself and then she's not really investing in the conversation, it's not going to go nowhere. So maybe you get her on the phone and get her talking by herself like that. That's a good way to do it. And then like when it's in person, like I still kind of try and get them to do that same thing where you get the girl talking about herself. But you'll find that in cold approach a lot of times, like off the first 5 minutes of conversation, it takes a while for girls to kind of like warm up to you. So like I kind of tell them like, yo, when you approach a girl, you kind of want to like start using context clues. Like I know like a famous line that people used to use a lot. You see a girl walking fast, like, oh, you must be a New Yorker. And then maybe talk about, so where are you actually from? Oh, you're not from New York? Oh, you're from Miami? Yo, I've been to Miami. So kind of like getting experience and getting like kind of know where you can go in every single conversation. So I knew where I would take every single conversation. So having that experience to the point where it gets her talking about herself. Once she starts talking about herself and then she starts asking you questions about yourself, you kind of won at that point. So what about you?
Well, that's what you just said there was like an example of to get guys out of doing the whole interview mode thing. Instead of asking like the direct question, like say like where are you from, right? You're starting with a
guess or
it's kind of like a cold read. It's like a guess. It's like it's a statement, not a question, right? You're starting with a statement, and so like, you know, I could say to you like, oh, you look like a Nigerian, right? And then it's sort of like it opens up a conversation.
Exactly,
because she's gonna respond to that. She's not, I mean, especially if I tell a girl she looks like a Nigerian, but she's gonna, it's rather than, it's like, yeah, like you said, it's rather than being a yes or no thing, it's like, oh, why do you think that? No, I'm actually like this. It's
exactly,
it is much more likely to engage someone with a statement rather than a direct question. And it's always, I always used to do this thing where I would, because you sort of want, there's certain like attributes that you want a girl to have if you're going to let's say lead it to like a one night stand, like a really quick same day lay, like a one night stand kind of situation, right? Like from like meeting the girl in the nightclub to like pulling her home that night. If she's going to do that, right, you kind of want her to be a like an independent kind of woman, the kind of woman who doesn't need her friends to tell her what to do. Doesn't need her friends' permission. That's a really key thing right there, especially if she's there like hanging out with friends, right? So like I always used to do this shit, like whatever like personality trait you want her to have or is useful for you to for her to have right there in that context, cold read that out of her.
Exactly.
It's like you seem like the kind of girl who doesn't need her friends' permission to do shit.
Exactly. Yeah.
Oh, really? Well, actually, I'm blah, blah, like, but she's like, it's like a psychological thing. She's sort of adopting the frame of, she's like, yeah, you know what? Yes, I am. I'm a strong, independent woman. And she's playing into the character that you want her to be. And then she's like, "Oh well, if you're a strong, independent woman, then we don't need your friend's permission. We just go have a drink over here." Like bang, and you've moved her, and you help yourself by telling you're kind of you're subvertly not subversion, but like subtly telling her how you want her to be without directly saying it. Because if you directly say it, no one's gonna like people will be like, no, it's like you're gonna act independent. No one's gonna fucking respond to that.
Mm-hmm.
But if you sort of subtly like cold read it out of her, if you subtly like your mystical powers of perception have deduced that she is an independent woman, suddenly it's not the same reason why girls like fucking horoscopes.
Mm-hmm.
It's just this magical woo-woo bullshit they fucking love it for some reason.
Exactly. And like actually that's actually true too. Like even if you're in relationships too, like I see a common problem with like my guys and friends who are getting married, right? Their wife is gaining weight, right? And they want them to work out. So like they eventually end up starting telling like, honey, baby, I love when you sweat. Hey, honey, baby, I love when you just work out because it looks like you're getting results. And then she'll end up start working out for him more and more and more. So like that's one thing I found too. Like that applies to a lot of aspects of life.
And they'll I've seen guys do the thing like even if the girl hasn't done the thing you want her to do,
mm-hmm.
you still verbally kind of reward her for it. Like, oh baby, I love it when you clean up after me. Oh baby, I love it when you do the cooking. Baby, I love it when you clean up around the kitchen. And she's like, huh? And it's like, even if she didn't fucking do it,
mm-hmm.
it's like, baby, I love it when you do that for me. And it's just you're just reinforcing the behavior you want to see.
Mm-hmm.
And more importantly, you're not reinforcing the behavior you don't want to see.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Like when she's acting like a cunt or whatever. You're not like, oh honey, please let me like you've come home from work and you're acting like a total bitch. Let me massage you. Well, no, that's not what you should be doing.
For bad behavior.
I don't like it's sort of when we throw that phrase around, like don't reward bad behavior, people sort of misinterpret that as being like misogynistic, or they misinterpret it as being, oh, you're treating her like a dog or something. It's like, no, look, this is basic human psychology. It's the same with anybody. It's the same way you treat your own friends. Like if your friend, I don't know, like borrows $20 off you and fucking never pays it back, you're going to subconsciously not reward him not paying you $20 back or whatever it is, right? But for some reason with chicks, they don't think that logically. They let their sort of emotions cloud them a bit, and they're like, oh, she's my princess, I'll let her do whatever she wants. Mm-hmm. And because they're so desperate to have a girl touch their pee-pee, they'll just like accept any kind of fucking behavior. And it's like, have some balls for a second, guys. Like, relax.
I mean, and that's a big problem too, though. Like, even like, so like, I know, so you help with like guys in the bedroom, like being more confident in the bedroom. Like, I know a lot of guys who even struggle with that, being masculine in the bedroom. Like, they're scared to sometimes choke her or pull her or be dominant. So like, that even transitions to like different aspects of life.
Well, the context within the bedroom, like the frame you guys have in the bedroom, between the dynamic you have in the bedroom, is very reflective of the frame you have in the relationship in general. And if the frame in the relationship in general is a bit shit, I tell guys, look, the first place you want to fix it is the bedroom, because that's the place where she is most likely to be like receptive to you asserting yourself, because she wants it. She wants deep down, like that's exactly what she wants. She wants you to take control and be assertive in that, like in general, and especially in the bedroom. So it's like if you're in a relationship that's kind of got a bad frame going on, it's like, well, first things, rather than trying to like put your foot down in the house, start in the bedroom. Start there, because it's going to reinforce like the subconscious parts of her mind, like her primitive brain, where it's like, oh, like he's manhandling me in the bedroom. This guy is the dude I want to be with. And then, like, a lot of the time, man, if girls are like acting bitchy, they're just not getting dick down properly. It's. I think most guys can resonate with this when they've seen a girl who's like, especially if it's not your girl, if she's in a loveless marriage or in a relationship with a dude who's a complete pussy, and then like say you might work with a girl like that where you know that her boyfriend is a complete pussy, and then she comes into your work and she's a total bitch, like to everyone. You're like, motherfucker, stick her down properly so we can have a good easy day at work. Like simple. I used to live with a girl like this, like, as in like back when I was a student, like let's say like a share house. Yeah, and the dude wasn't dicking her down properly, and then me and the other guy who lived there, and he was like he was a fly in, fly out worker, so he wasn't in the house the whole time. So she was sexually frustrated for like 2 weeks out of the month, and me and the other housemate had to fucking deal with the bullshit. Like, oh my god, just get this woman laid, so we can have a bit of peace around the house. God,
it's funny. My uncles used to tell me that too all the time. They said like, in order to have a good relationship, you have to have good sex, even when you're older. So like, we've been in a relationship for 5 years. What do you think like the common mistakes like guys make like in the bedroom?
Well, the first one tends to be not leading. They and I don't like want guys to think of sex as being this sort of performative thing. Like you want to have fun with it, but it actually helps you. It makes life a lot easier for you if you are like the one in control. If you're the one doing it for you, like I tell guys that this is like one thing that one like sort of frame of mind guys can come from if they're having say like performance issues, because a lot of the time, especially if you're a younger guy, it's not a physical thing. You know, the physical stuff tends to kick in when you're a bit older, like blood flow, testosterone, this sort of stuff, right? But if you're a younger guy and you're having performance issues, it tends to be a mental thing. And I tell guys to come at sex from the frame of mind of being a selfish pervert, right? In the sense, and I don't mean it's specifically selfish and pervert, because if you're just selfish, then you're the kind of guy who's just going to bust his nut in 2 minutes and be done, right? That's the selfish part. It's selfish pervert because it's like if you're a perverted kind of guy, then you're gonna have fun with this girl, and you're gonna enjoy every little aspect of her body and throw her around and have a good time with it, right? But you're also not overly concerned with what she thinks of you every second of the interaction, every second of the time in the bedroom. You're not like, oh, I really hope she likes me. I really hope she likes this. I really hope she sees me again. I hope I impress her. That all those kind of thoughts that don't help guys at all in the bedroom, that goes out of their mind when they're like, I'm going to enjoy this woman for my own selfish, perverted pleasure, and she's along for the ride.
You think, but sometimes don't you think like a lot of girls these days can literally be like, this guy didn't make me come, so I don't want to be with him again. But if you focus on yourself sometimes, do you ever think like the guys would not focus on like making her come, or do you think like it depends on like the case by case person?
So I tell guys that thing, the selfish pervert thing, when they have performance issues.
Okay.
Because they're in their head. If they're having performance issues, the first you're not going to be able to please her if your dick can't get hard. So the first problem we need to fix is the fact that the guy's in his head and is like overly concerned with pleasing her. Because in my experience, like, because there's layers. It's like, okay, first let's fix the mental stuff. Let's not have you in your head. Secondly, we're going to teach you, okay, here's the ins and outs. Here's the mechanics of a woman. Here's like all the right buttons to press. So, and then now your shit's working because you're not in your head. Okay, now you actually know all the buttons to push. Now it's like, all right, we combine these two together. And like, ironically, in my experience, when a dude is overly concerned with making a woman come, that is when they're least likely to make her come, because it puts too much pressure on the girl, because the girl can tell when you are like in your head and like, oh, I need her to orgasm for my self-esteem, for my ego. I need her to come, right? She can tell that, and in her head, it puts all this pressure on her, and then she can't actually get there because she's like in her own head. Then,
yeah,
if you flip that script, it's like, okay, cool. I'm like, you're this like my personal little fuck doll for the evening. I'm gonna have a lot of fun with you. It allows her to like let go and just be in the moment. And then if you actually know your way around a woman's body and you enjoy, pushing her buttons and stuff, then you're gonna get her to that point much easier. You're gonna get her to the point where she's orgasming all the time very easily. So that's why it's like a layered thing.
Yeah, I definitely agree with that too. Because like I never really had like performance issue, but the one thing I did have the issue with is like I had a hard time like coming sometimes with girls, right? Or like finishing. So it's like when I was thinking in my head, I need to do this, I need to do this, I need to do this. Like eventually, like I realized like that didn't help. Like just being like in the moment, that actually helped.
Yeah. Yeah, that's actually a very common thing these days. Is younger guys who can't orgasm during sex themselves.
It sounds fun, but nah, it's not.
And it's a symptom of internet pornography.
Oh yeah, I think so. Yeah,
it's like high streaming, like internet porn. The tube, what we call the tube sites in my industry, they are to blame. Like they 100% are the cause of it. Because this wasn't an issue for guys 30 years ago. It was the opposite issue 30 years ago. It was like, oh, I'm coming too quickly. Now all these younger dudes have the complete reverse.
Yeah.
So it's so easy to see the connection, the cause and effect. It's like, okay, well, that's why. Because all these dudes are fapping to like such a variety of porn that they needed the novelty to get themselves off. And when you don't, I mean, when you only have one woman in front of you, there's a limited amount of novelty, right? Versus scrolling through like a dozen tabs on your on incognito mode on your Google Chrome.
How do you feel like, because you worked in the porn industry, right? So like, how is it, since like some of it has to be acting, right? Some of it is acting, right? Do you find it like when you're with an actual woman, like I'm not saying actual woman, but like when you're a girl that's not in the industry, right?
Yeah.
Do you find it hard to like is it like because you're so used to getting something in porn, and then with an actual girl who's not in the industry, not an actual, you know what I mean, right?
I know what you mean. An actual real life woman.
Exactly. Yeah.
No, it's fun. It's a lot more fun.
Oh really?
I mean, like it's fun in a different way. I get to do what I want to do when it's like just regular casual sex in my life. Versus like on set, it's like it's still fun. Like me and my co-star, we're putting on a show. We're trying to because my job on the screen is actually to elicit something out of the girl. That's what makes a good male performer in my industry. Is a guy not first and foremost, not only can he keep his dick hard, that's the primary reason. It's the primary requirement. But the second requirement is, can he elicit something out of this girl? Like get some kind of primal emotion out of her, get some kind of reaction out of her, so that it comes across on screen, on camera. Because those are the best scenes. The ones that win awards in my industry are the ones where the girl is just in her primal, like sexual state. She's just like an animal, and she's like loving it. And it's your job to sort of kind of fuck the consciousness out of her, so she's not thinking, and she's just being. Kind of a bit of a woo woo way of saying it, but that's how I would describe it. She's not performing. She's just being.
So then
your job to get her there.
That means it probably, when it comes to like outside of the industry, like when you're messing with girls in our industry, since you know how to like get her in that moment where she's not acting, where she's actually in that moment, you can easily get that out of a girl who isn't in the industry, who's not used to it. So like it probably transitioned really, really well. Yeah,
because the girl, if a regular girl is, in my bed, they're not thinking about performing for a camera or anything. Because there's no pressure there on them. So it's but then again, the girls in my industry are very much exhibitionists, which makes sense. Like you're gonna want to be an exhibitionist at nature, at heart, if you do, the kind of thing that I do for a living.
What's exhibitionist?
Exhibitionist is someone who likes being the center of attention.
Oh, okay.
Right, like at the swing, I was having this conversation last night with a buddy here. Like I used to be in the swinging scene as well. Back in the day. And I was whenever I went to a swingers party, I was always the guy fucking somebody in the middle of the room. so everyone could see.
Mm-hmm.
That's kind of just in my nature, and I'm like, and that I kind of like in the back of my head, I'm kind of getting off on the fact that everyone's watching. So that's exhibitionism, right there. Is the idea like some people are voyeurs, some people like to watch others. That's called voyeurism, and then other people are exhibitionists. They like to be the ones that everyone is watching.
Okay, yeah, that makes sense.
And if you're in my industry, then you're very much the exhibitionist type, of course.
And so you want to get that feel like that performance. Okay, that makes sense.
Yeah, you get like it doesn't intimidate. Doing a performing doesn't intimidate you; it excites you. That's the mental frame of mind, I guess. There.
Yeah, I can't even imagine being in the industry.
It's not for everyone. I'll tell you that right now. It is definitely not a job for everyone. Let's stay back onto like getting some words of wisdom out of you.
Okay.
What are some, I guess, if a guy wanted to be like as attractive as he could be, what do you think are some pretty key like character traits, like alpha traits, for one of a better phrasing, that most guys should adopt that are attractive to most women in general?
Okay, the first thing I do agree, before it comes to like internal mindsets, I think they have to get their externals correct first. So like teeth is a big part. Granted, I've always had good teeth, right? But I know when I smile, like girls been telling me my whole life, my smile is good, right? So I think first focus on having good teeth. If you have messed up teeth, try and get braces. That's one of the first things women see, right? Having more hair actually helps you depending on the person you are. I know if you're in the military, sometimes you can't have that much hair. If you can grow out your hair sometimes, and most of the time, if your face isn't that perfect, hair on your beard will make you look more attractive. You can't get a beard, that's a different situation. You can try different stuff. Having more hair too, sometimes, depending on the type of girl, right? Everyone's different. I know when I had short hair and I had no beard, my facial structure didn't look that good. I have like a so growing out my hair helped me out. And then if you get a beard too, that helps you out.
It like emphasizes the jawline.
Exactly. Yeah. And then I have a butt chin. Like, you ever see Peter Griffin? I really have like a butt chin, so it hides that imperfection right there.
Oh, so you grow hair over it so you can't see it.
Yeah, exactly. I would never cut this off.
Damn, that's I've never heard someone say that. That's pretty clever. I didn't think of that.
Yeah. And then also like fashion. So like one thing, like being very fashionable, like figure out, like go on Instagram, look at models that look like you. Like, hey, I'm a skinny, about 5'10", 5'11" guy, right? I look at guys who look like me and I try and dress like them, put their outfit ideas, take photos like that. And then your shoes, have decent, good quality shoes. So once you get that exterior out, you kind of good. Make sure to have your back posture straight too. So like all this external stuff is what helps, because that's what girls are seeing first. Okay. And next, confident traits, like having a mindset where like you can lose the girl at any moment and you care, but you don't really care. Not being needy. I see like a lot of guys, they are too needy. They're too hung up on this one particular girl. And when you kind of like the girl more than she likes you, she can feel that, and that makes you look kind of unattractive. As you were saying earlier, talking slower. Like, I naturally talk fast. I'm naturally giggly. But even talking slower sometimes, like when I'm talking to a girl, like I have like a slower, more masculine voice. Like, oh, okay, oh, let me find out. Stuff like that. Kind of like, oh, okay, cute, let me find out. Stuff like that. And then what I say, talking slower, kind of being willing to lose her. And then sometimes being fun, it depends. Being fun and spontaneous, it depends on the type of girl you're dealing with. And having core values. See, girls say they want you to be their number one priority in life, but they want something else first. They want to be your second. So like whatever your core value is, or whatever you focus on in life, like, hey, like I'm still in school, so I'll focus on school. I'm still doing YouTube, so I'll focus on YouTube. So like a lot of times I can't chill with a girl every single day. So if I'm always free to hang out with her every day, she's going to get bored. You'll find out you'll hang out with a girl every day and she'll still say, you're not spending enough time with me. So it's like, yeah. So a lot of times you have to like put her second. So
you can live with a girl and she'll say that. You'd literally be living with her, and she'll be like, "We don't talk anymore." I'm like, bitch, I'm right here.
Isn't it crazy? Yeah.
The attention, man. They need that attention.
Yeah. Well, I still usually say to guys in that situation, if they're still doing everything, then she's not the priority focus. And the girl's still saying that, I say, like, hey, what she means is like you hanging out with her in your crib isn't count really as hanging out, but like you actually do something with her, like go on a date, go maybe out for eat, ice skating, that counts as quality time. But even then, she's still gonna ask for more.
Like you're better off. Yeah, like being apart from her more often, so that when you are together, it is more emotionally impactful.
Exactly. Have you ever lived with a woman? I've never lived with a woman. I couldn't comprehend.
I've lived with a couple of girls before. Well, yeah. Let's just say I have. Yes.
How's that experience?
Yeah. Let's. I wouldn't be doing it in a rush any other time. Look, now I'll say this: like when you got a good woman and she knows how to like keep a good home, like present a good, like decorate like a really nice house and like make it look nice and make it look presentable. That's a good thing. But yeah, you gotta. I made the mistake of doing that before I'd learnt a lot of stuff. Yeah, so I'm in a far better position now than I was back when it happened. So
yeah, I couldn't even imagine.
What about the other way around? What about with what kind of traits do you look for in a woman when it comes to like, okay, this girl might be a keeper. This girl might be someone I want to like dedicate a bit more time to, keep her around. And like, so what things are you looking for? And I guess then how are you vetting for it?
So it's actually funny. For a while, I've been super against relationship, right? So like now as I'm getting that, once the pandemic hit and I'm not meeting as much women as I am, and I know like it's a risk to meet as many women, I'm like, okay, maybe I might slow down a little and maybe think about being in a relationship. So now, right now, I'm looking like she has to be my type. Like she has to be like, I have like a quality of standard woman that I want. It's like, it's really hard for me to like, to settle for less than that. So she has to hit that core quality that I want. So now I'm looking like, she has to be kind of friendly. So I'm finding like a lot of girls I date in the past, like they're kind of friendly, but like they have to be like sweethearted. Like I find out a lot of these girls, like I'm in DC. So in DC area, what do you find? You find masculine, either very masculine women who are very feminists, right? And then you also find like a lot of liberal women, right? Like really, really masculine women, career women.
Yep.
I have a PhD, so I'm like kind of looking for away from that type of girl. The girls who are more free spirit, fun type of stuff, who aren't all into like getting degrees, all into politics, all into like to that kind of stuff. So I'm looking for girls who are more free spirit. And
that's a red flag for me. If she's into politics, I'm like, oh
my god, you couldn't. Have you been to DC?
Not like I've passed through DC. I've not been there for any reasonable amount of time.
Yeah, every girl who transplant hair is into politics, feminism. So it's like every girl is so masculine. They're not even the best looking girls. Like I feel like you're not gonna find a 10 until you're in Miami, LA, maybe Vegas.
No one's moving to DC to date supermodels.
Exactly. So like yeah. So I'm trying to find a good quality woman, then a woman who isn't like really, really masculine. So that's the biggest thing. And then a girl who kind of like, as I'm getting older, I wanted like a girl who's really into future and career, but like now it's like I'm more focused on like what is her future like, right? Is she still going to the gym, right? Is she a good caretaker? Like a lot of women, I mean, this area don't really even know how to cook, and that's like the number one thing for like, and for a woman to be a wife. So it's like, is she possibly going to be a wife, or how's she going to do? Is she going to want to work, all that stuff? So it's kind of like just trace to see in the future. So like, I'm still not into a relationship right now. So like,
yeah,
I'm still trying to figure out everything.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
It's if a girl is going to be anything more than like a one night stand or a casual like fuck buddy, right? And then it's like, well, what are you bringing to the table?
Exactly.
What are you bringing? Like, there's not, and that's, I know Myron Gaines talks about this a lot. Like, girls haven't really, they've been lied to a lot, man. Like, I have to have, there was like a phase when I was younger where I probably had like a bit of bitterness towards women when I was younger, like much younger, like in my 20s, and I was like, oh man, I have to do all this work to get a woman's attention and blah blah blah, whatever, right?
Mm-hmm.
And now I'm like, now I have just sympathy. I'm like, man, like you've been lied to, like your whole fucking life. You've been lied to about like what is attractive to men, especially girls, like younger girls now. They've grown up with all the lies of feminism and this sort of media. There's all this brainwashing, like healthy at any size, like stuff like that. And it's like, and strong. If he doesn't want a strong, independent woman, then like he's insecure. And it's like, no, like a guy who has self-esteem, a guy who has money, his time is valuable. He doesn't want a fucking challenge. He doesn't want a woman who makes his life more difficult. What are you, insane? His life is already difficult. Like, he's working his ass off. That is like making money. Like, he's trying to make bank. That's challenging enough. He wants someone, if he's going to invite you into his life, if he's going to, like, you're benefiting from being in his life. Let's not joke around, right? If he's like a wealthy, like well-to-do guy, a confident guy, like the woman is benefiting from being around him. So you might, like, maybe, just maybe, he might want somebody who makes his life pleasant. Heaven forbid. He wants someone who's pleasant to be around. But they've been fed this bullshit since they were little girls. And then you get, these girls get to be like 30, and they're like, why can't I find a good man? Like, oh, God. You're going to meet him soon, honey. His name's Jesus. God, but yeah, it's like I said, yeah. So I have a bit of sympathy for it, but it's obviously it's men are looking for the same shit for the most part. They're looking for, like, if it's a long-term, a potentially like long-term scenario, it's like, okay, nurturing nature, pleasant to be around, like caretaker home, like home like caretaking skills. It's like, okay, perfect. Like, this would be a great mother to my kids.
Can she bring peace to your life? Like, yeah.
Can she bring Jesus? Yes. Can she bring some peace to my life? Look, I'm not under the delusion that women are never going to test you. Women will, like, they're still going to test you at some point. They're gonna make sure that you're the best choice she made. Right? And I think a lot of dudes think this is the other thing that men have been lied to. A lot of guys think of marriage as like, all right, the game's over. I don't have to try anymore. Like, no, mate. Like, you're still playing. The game never stops. You're still playing.
And it's so funny. Yeah, and it's funny too, right? I used to think, like, back in the day, like up until like 2 years ago, I used to think I wanted like a strong, independent woman who got her own, right? And then I met this one girl. She was just bringing so much hell into my life. She was going for med school, right? And so, like, just like the archetype that a woman needs to be a doctor, right? She has to be like strong and masculine, bro. And I was seeing these traits, and like, she just brought hell into my life. Always wanted to argue about feminist topics, about this politics. I'm like, bro, I don't need this at midnight. I don't need you FaceTime me at midnight to debate this.
I have better things to do than debate. Jesus Christ, that's a giant red flag right there. FaceTiming you to debate feminism.
Bro, that girl changed my life.
Yeah, well, that's the thing. You can learn. You learn. A lot of guys will learn more from the fuck ups.
Yeah.
Than the successes.
She was so cute.
That's the problem. Because you put up with the shit because she was so cute.
Put up for a while, like 2 months. Like 2 months doesn't sound that long, but 2 months is a long time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The black sheep with the $4.99 super chat. Everyone go smash that like button. Thank you for the super chat, sir. Thank you for reminding everyone. I always forget, like, man, I get stuck into these conversations and I always freaking forget to tell people to hit the goddamn like button. So hit the goddamn like button. All right.
Like button.
Roll in there. Let me just quickly, while I'm here, I'm going to drop. I'm I'm gonna drop your Instagram link.
Oh yeah.
Here in the chat. And your YouTube link. I'll drop that in the chat here.
Promote my YouTube on Instagram. I just promote my YouTube.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, so you don't promote? Should I take that Instagram away?
No, you can.
Okay, good. Well, it's out there now. So.
It's like, how do you feel about this? So, my thing is, I had my Instagram before I started YouTube, right? So I met almost, my Instagram is probably like 70% girls, 30% men, even with my YouTube, right? So I met these girls before I was making this YouTube video. So like the type of content I make, does it benefit me in getting more girls through my Instagram? I get most of my girls through Instagram. So I'm like, I kind of find myself at disadvantage. Like, should I promote my YouTube to get girls, or not to get? Should I for my?
I know what you're saying. Yeah. Should I use my Instagram to promote a YouTube channel or not?
Yeah.
I don't like. Yeah, I mean, my Instagram was built through my involvement in the industry anyway.
Oh, okay.
So for me, it's all business. Okay, it's definitely not optimized for attracting women, because it's like pictures of me with all these porn stars. It's like, well, that's either, well, some girls, they're like, for some girls it's like, yes, sign me up. But for a large chunk, it just sort of knocks them off the fence. They're like, yeah, no, I don't want to compete with this.
How does it affect you with do you want long-term relationships or like
I want kids, yeah. I mean, not right now. I don't want a long-term relationship right now, but I do want kids, yeah. It's on the cards.
Does it affect you with girls like outside the industry? Like, are some girls ever like, no, I can't do this? Like, because I'm having to ease into even telling girls what I do on YouTube.
Oh yeah. I've dated like girls while I've been in the industry, and if you can get like a few weeks into, or like a month into a relationship with a girl, in my position, you can keep them around, but at a certain point they're going to be like, oh, I don't know if I can do this. I'm too jealous of what's going on. If you've gotten to, a month in and you get that objection, it's just a case of like, oh honey, it's just work. Like you're the special one. It's just sex. It's just work, and they can get over it. But at the beginning, if it's too much, then you'll never even get into a relationship with them, because it just knocks that is like from the very get-go. They're like, I know that I couldn't handle this, and so they didn't even try.
Okay, yeah,
it's not fair. That's why I don't really. Only in America, I'll say this, on my Tinder profile. Only in America do I link to my Instagram, because only American girls are like, or I would do it if I was in Australia too, but only American girls are like the ones who are going to be kind of interested in that. If I'm anywhere else in the world, I don't link to my Instagram.
Wow. So do you find that Americans are more promiscuous, huh?
They're more openly promiscuous. Like everywhere, they're promiscuous everywhere, but they're the ones that are like, they're not trying to hide it very much here in America, especially in places like Los Angeles, Vegas, Miami. Like they're definitely not trying to hide it, and so it's sort of, it doesn't hurt you either. It doesn't hurt me as a guy to sort of be open and honest about what I do. It's not as much of a deal breaker here.
So, yeah. I was finding out my area. So like when I been to different places to visit, right? Like Colombia, DR, Latin America, Canada, Africa. They don't really ask you like, what do you do? But like the area where I'm in right now, 2 minutes into conversation. So what do you do? Yeah. Yeah.
But you don't get that in South America. That's actually very interesting.
Really? No, I didn't. Not when I was in Colombia. But I was only there for like 2 weeks, maybe. So I wasn't there long term.
But still, but you were on the dating apps there. You were like scoping out women. You were having conversations, and it's yeah. So they're not judging you based on like your perceived income. Let's say that much.
Nah, I think they think I'm just American, so it's like, oh, he probably has a hella income. So I think that's what happened.
Like it's a default. They assume by virtue of the fact of your passport that you've got cash.
Exactly.
Yeah, that's probably it. You're sort of it's doing the work for you. Just being.
That's the easiest way to do it.
I don't mind that. I quite like. I've never been to Colombia, but I'm quite a fan of South American women in general. I like I've been with Colombian women, and they're my favorites. But I haven't actually been to Colombia.
Have you been to, I'm going to Brazil in like a few months. Have you been to Brazil?
Oh yeah, a couple of times.
Which part?
I've been all over Brazil. I'll tell you. Here's my 2-minute synopsis of Brazil. If you want really, really dark-skinned women, same complexion as yourself, sir, go to the north. Go to Salvador in Bahia, that area. Salvador can be a bit rough. Except all the major cities in Brazil can be a bit rough, as in like you could get like robbed. The last time I was in Rio, I got robbed at knife point.
For real?
Yeah, Rio de Janeiro is a nice city. You have to be you don't want to hang out. If you hang out around like Copacabana, Ipanema, it's still kind of dodgy. There's another place a bit further around the beach. I can't actually quite remember the name of it, but it's like there's a wealthier section to like the beach. As a Westerner, it's like not that expensive, and you're like, that's the really nice upscale, pleasant place. That's where you want to hang out in Rio. And then in the Sao Paulo is just this giant metropolis. It's not that great. Sao Paulo's not that great, but down further south is a place called Florianopolis. Beautiful place. It's where all the models go.
Alex was telling me about that.
Florianopolis is fantastic.
Okay.
Yeah.
Where's Sao Paulo compared to? Is that on the north side? I was thinking of spending a week in Rio and a week on the south side.
Sao Paulo's sort of in the south. It's like if you go south, it's like Rio and then Sao Paulo and then Florianopolis. Go down towards the bottom. Yeah. Rio is lovely. Check out Rio. It is beautiful, but but just be aware of like where you're staying, and always have like your head on a swivel, especially if you're in like tourist trap kind of areas. Yeah.
How do you feel like the language barrier is though? Like, because I know when I go to the Spanish, it's a language barrier, but it's not too bad because I can understand a little bit Portuguese. Like, I don't know. My friend can speak fully that I'm going with, but I'm not gonna try to learn.
Yeah. I used to speak a little bit of Portuguese. Stated, but it's I like it. I like the language. If you can, a lot of people have trouble bouncing between Spanish and Portuguese. I never really had that problem, but they don't speak much English.
Okay, so you recommend if I'm going there to learn?
Well, no. If you're going with a guy who knows how to speak it, then you're fine. Like, and if you're hanging out in sort of like a wealthier area, the wealthier girls will have learned English.
Okay, that makes
like that more sort of high class area, they'll have learned it. The daddy will have paid for English classes and shit, so they'll actually know a bit of English. Okay. Yeah, but if you're hanging out in like, or in the touristy areas, the girls tend to sort of know a bit more English.
How'd you almost get robbed by
Oh, dude, I was like, I had my buddy fly in. I was already there, and he landed at like midnight, and we hadn't seen each other in months. And we're like, all right, we put his bags in the hotel room, and we're like, all right, let's just go for a walk and catch up. So we just started walking along Ipanema Beach. It was like fucking 2 a.m. in the morning, and we're just like being in blue jeans, like obviously dressed like a gringo, because everyone in Rio, like walks around in fucking beach shorts. So we look like a gringo, and obviously my complexion makes me look. Man, he's like a pasty white English guy. And it's like, all right, dressed like a gringo, looks like a gringo, speaking English loudly like a gringo. It was like, and it was normally I have very good situational awareness. I pride myself on my situational awareness and being street smart. I just wasn't fucking paying attention, and I was just too like I hadn't seen my mate in forever, so I was like, yeah, like catching up on stuff, talking really loudly, and then just these dudes just like came across the road, like saw us a mile away. He looked like a homeless guy. He was like, he had this big like a duvet, like a blanket over him. And I thought he was just asking for a cigarette, and he like tapped him on the shoulder, and then he like pulled the duvet back and had this big fucking knife. And he's like, money. I'm like, oh, Jesus Christ. Here we go. I gave him, he didn't actually, he tried to get my phone, and because I didn't speak English, I was like, all right, mate. Like I yelled to my friend, like on 3, or like when I say go, run, and we're gonna run opposite directions. I I gave him like a couple of bucks to distract him, and I went go, and we just fucking sprinted and we got away with like our wallets and shit.
That's good though. You guys were smart about that part.
Yeah, so don't do what I did and just fucking act like an idiot
And
at like 2 a.m. in the morning.
Yeah. Yeah, I never had experience getting robbed or anything.
Yeah, I'm actually glad I had that experience, to be honest, because it's like, okay, well now I kind of know what I would do again differently.
What you said, you would just run from the rip, right?
Yeah, like I would run from the rip. I would have been like, well, I would have been paying more attention, and I would have seen the guys coming out of like at that time of night, like dressed like that. I'm like, okay, like if I see these guys approaching us in a beeline, I'm like, yeah, this is bad news. Let's fucking move.
You said a beeline? What is that?
Like straight for you, like running, heading straight for you, like they're not casually walking across the road. They're like these guys, like they're the ones we're going to go like talk to. Yeah.
Okay, yeah, that makes sense.
That's right. I don't want to put you off from going to Brazil because I love Brazil. Yeah. I love Brazil and I love Brazilian women. So
yeah, I'm definitely trying to go down there.
Yeah,
so, I'm going to be there for 2 weeks. Rio for a week. Sao Paulo, and then you said Alex told me that too.
Yeah, Florianopolis.
I'm gonna try and check that out.
It's real nice. It's real nice. It's like a beach town. There's plenty of things to do.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
That sounds good.
Yeah, exactly. All right. We've been going for a while. I'm gonna let's wrap this. The sun's getting in my friggin' eyes. People can't really see me right now, but it's a giant white blur. Is there anything you have going on right now that you want to pitch to the folks watching?
Thanks for having me on. Basically, just check out my YouTube channel. You can check out my Instagram. I have just a Patreon. I have my course where I teach guys just how to approach girls, how to meet women from code approach. And then is that pretty much I have my text game vault. But just check out my YouTube channel. You'll be able to find everything. And
yep.
Yeah, that sounds good.
Excellent. I've just dropped the link to Prince's YouTube channel in the chat. Go check it out. Give him a follow. Give him a subscribe. There's some really good content on your YouTube channel, by the way.
Thanks, man.
I think guys can learn quite a lot, and it's all for free because it's all there on his YouTube. So check it out. Yeah. All right, guys. As always, don't forget to hit that goddamn like button because I keep forgetting you guys to do that. Oh, real quick, we got just in time. We have a little super chat here.
Thanks.
With a question from you, Laro 802 $5 super chat. Thank you, sir. Says Prince, what's your feelings on the BHM YouTube logo? Ever see Morgan Freeman's video from 60 Minutes when asked about Black History Month?
I actually haven't. Damn.
Yeah. I didn't know it until you said Black History Month. I didn't know what that was about. So yeah. I'm assuming is February Black History Month?
Yeah, February is Black History Month. So I actually didn't even know what BHM stood for. And so
yeah, me neither.
Yeah, I guess I don't know. I hope I still got my black card.
No, you are now white. Take that.
Okay, what I will do for the super chat, I will educate myself and watch the 60-minute video. All
right. Right. I think if I recall, I might have seen this one from Morgan Freeman. I think if I recall, he was kind of against like the whole Black History Month, if I'm recalling correctly.
Oh, for real?
He was sort of like Morgan. If it's Morgan Freeman, I think he was like, "Why do we need a special month?" I think he was saying something like that. Yeah, I could be remembering a different interview though. But.
Okay, yeah, I'm definitely gonna check it out.
Yeah. Well, there you go. That's there is his opinions on the Black History Month, Lara. Thank you very much for the super chat. Yeah, that'll do us for today, guys. We're gonna play a little bit of music out here. We'll play a little bit of music, and we're gonna drop on out. Prince, thank you once again for joining me, sir. It's been a pleasure.
Hey.
I will see you guys all next time.
Are we still live still?